What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim, and this week we're going to do something special. We're going to be showing off all of our E3 gaming footage. But I am not alone. I am accompanied by my beautiful wife, Rachel. How are you doing, Rachel?
I'm great, Jim.
Okay, so E3 has come and gone. We did our best to take as many pictures as we could from a layman's perspective of people who've never been to these conventions and didn't know what to expect.
So we have some pictures and we'll talk a little bit about our experiences, hopefully try and give people an idea of what it's really like from kind of a outsider's perspective, if you will, somebody who hasn't gone to these events before, who didn't really know what to expect. So our trip started at the EA Play experience.
Right, and this was we got off the plane, got a quick bite to eat, and we were there. Now, we saw a lot of email traffic going around that this event may be oversold, it may be hard to get into. A ticket did not guarantee your admission.
So we got there probably about 1:30.
Right, and the event opened at 4. They said you could get there an hour early to register, but 4 o'clock was when the event actually started, and it was the time that we went was a 4-hour block.
Yes.
So 4 to 8 was our time to play.
We went on the first day.
Day 1, right off the bat, ready to go have fun.
So the first image you're seeing is of us waiting in line.
Right.
All the way around the block, around the corner. The line went on, it seemed like forever.
Yeah, and what really stunk about this line is it didn't move. And we didn't find out until later that people had already come the day before and gotten wristbands. So we were really behind the game because not only did we have to wait, but press, which is a common theme you'll hear in these videos the next week about press cutting through and getting in. But all these people already had wristbands and they were funneling in way ahead of us.
So also one of the things that we learned during the week is typically on the first day of any of these events,
right,
they do all their VIP visitors.
Right.
So in addition to regular press and industry folks and all who don't have to wait in the lines as much as you do, you also have the VIPs who get to cut the lines,
right,
instead of just merely getting in front of you because they could get in earlier.
Exactly, and that was really frustrating. We didn't know that. It wouldn't have changed our schedule in particular because this is when we designated time to go, but it was frustrating because the lines, they did cut through. And when we noticed, this was at the Palladium, if I'm saying that right?
Yes.
So I thought this was going to be an indoor event. As we got close, you're going to see some pictures. They basically took this red, masking tape, and they masked off the entire outside. So the building wasn't painted red. I think it's a wood building underneath. I'm not entirely sure.
I think there were some that were stickers and some that were just red, masking tape.
Painter's tape or something. So they painted everything in red, which was interesting. But, that is kind of the official EA thing. On the outside of the building where I guess movie posters or advertisements would go, they put in posters of the various games. So they kind of really framed at what it was going to be. And again, at this point, I still thought it was inside.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware that we were going to be standing out in the sun all day.
I wasn't sure. So as we were standing there waiting, they eventually started letting people in right about 3 o'clock.
Right, and we slowly started to funnel our way around. And when we got to the front, basically the line broke off into, it was all red carpet, which was kind of cool because you got to see this red carpet.
Yep.
You had all the banners of all the various games in the background, so it looked
very EA.
Very EA, right? And we got up, and it was just like this dumpster almost. And on one side,
it's a shipping container.
Shipping container on one side, should have been a dumpster. Was if you had the code, which means you already were registered, and then the other side was people with no code, which I'm not sure if that means they were just letting people in off the street or what, but this was the first sign to me that this event was organized not very well.
So we also found out as we were there that they were starting to cut off the line and not letting people get in line because they weren't going to let people in.
And to jump ahead slightly, a lot of my friends that I met and made friends with rather during all these events, a lot of people did not get in at all because the lines were capped every single day.
Yep. So once we got there, we gave them our registration code,
right,
and we got these EA bracelets with an RFID chip in there so that it could be read.
Right. And
so They were made out of a cloth band. However,
Yes.
unbeknownst to those of us who are newbies at this,
They only got one way, tighter.
they only get tighter. You can never loosen them.
There's these plastic teeth, and the more you pull on it, the worse it gets, and the tighter it gets. And I guess that's by design, so you can't give it to your buddy or anything. But
but as someone who doesn't like things around my wrist to be tight,
right,
I wish I had known that in advance, because I pulled it a little tighter than I should have, and then I spent basically the rest of the day trying to figure out how I could get it off.
paper clips, car keys, just pulling on it, it did not matter. This thing just got tighter, and it never got looser.
So needless to say, we had to borrow some scissors at the hotel to cut those bad boys off after we finished at EA Play.
Right, and then but by the way, all the press conferences gave out some sort of like one way. Like Bethesda did that. I got that at Microsoft. Is these special like?
PlayStation was doing it.
I guess that's the way to do it. I guess that's what they do. So when we got inside EA Play, the first thing I noticed was it wasn't very big.
Not only was it not very big, but it didn't look like they had areas with a lot of systems to play. It
Right.
seemed, overall, for the number of people that we knew they had based on how many were behind us in line and how
Right.
many walked by us
Right.
before we got in line, there were not nearly enough stations.
Yeah, it
was
wasn't very big.
Immediately clear.
It was, and you could tell immediately people just started forming lines, but the lines weren't clearly defined, and we really didn't. We just started walking until we got to the Star Wars Battlefront, and that was a good thing that we did, because we got to basically like fast pass for an hour later.
Right, so we made a reservation. That was the first thing we did. It took us 30 minutes to make a reservation to play
A game.
a game.
So we've been there, at this point, we've been there, if you're counting 1 o'clock, we've been there for a couple hours. We've done nothing. What they do is to take the reservation, they scan your phone. They scan their phone on your RFID badge. So everything you do is like, that's your account information, it's your name, what you've played, that sort of thing. And again, that was common throughout all of E3, not just EA Play. But I noticed right away that Battlefront didn't look very big. There didn't look like there was a lot of stations.
I think we counted it up later when we went back, and there couldn't have been any more than 20 versus 20 game.
Whatever, yeah, I don't know what the match size was. I thought it was 15 versus 15, but whatever it was, they had enough PlayStation 4 Pros just for that.
And that was all that was playing.
So the queue was this giant trailer that you went in. That was the first time I got to see a quote-unquote behind closed doors, which was basically just the trailer. And I wanted to specifically point that out because as a fan of watching E3 coverage for years, all the press always makes such a big deal about these behind closed doors. And, we saw this behind closed doors. All it was just a trailer basically teaching dumb people in the press how to play the game. There wasn't anything...
It was nothing special. It may have given you a slightly better look at what to expect from the game, but it was...
It was basically like, here's your character classes, here's how you shoot, here's how you jump, here's the objective.
Here's ways you can play, that kind of stuff.
So
it was not...
It wasn't anything like, oh my god. Like, when they said you can't take pictures, I was like, oh, what are we going to see? Like, this cutscene from the final moments of the game? No, it's just more junk. Nothing fancy. Big waste.
Just some more elitist...
more elitist Hollywoodisms.
So
yes.
Anyway, we got to play the game.
We did, and it was a lot of fun. And it
looked amazing.
We played on a PlayStation 4 Pro. The TV was, I don't know if it was a 4K TV, but it was definitely like a higher it was a performance type TV. It wasn't like these cheapo, like Brand X Walmart specials. The game looked and played amazing. I wouldn't expect any less because I know it's built really off of what they did on the original game, plus Battlefield 1, both of which I thought were amazing. This game looks awesome. It's a day one purchase for me.
So all we were able to play was the multiplayer. We didn't get any looks at what the story is or anything like that.
Correct. Just a single multiplayer map, and that was it.
And the truth is, it was a very good thing that the first thing we got in line for was Battlefront, because that line capped out...
They shut that line down almost immediately.
And
yes.
Obviously they would, because you can only play 40 people at a time. And I want to say we played for 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah, it was whatever normal match size was. It's basically an attack-defend map. And as the attackers, you didn't get to take turns attacking and defending. We were defending, and I think we were defending, and that was it.
Yep.
And we did hold off the defense, by the way. We won. I mean,
We
very,
did.
very last second, we won. It was fun. And I did like that. But it was frustrating there weren't more stations because I would have liked to play again. Maybe like this line is for attacker and this line's for defender or something. Or
in addition to that, you got no choice as to which side you played on.
Right. You were, either good guys or bad guys. It didn't matter.
And you were assigned to the computer.
Yeah, well, it's a PlayStation, but right, you're assigned to the station. Yeah, and that's all you did. So after that, though.
So.
Oh, go ahead.
Don't forget, we got a poster.
Oh yeah, I wasn't gonna go line by line for everything of loot because it's gonna be impossible. But we did. That was our first, I guess, our second official piece of loot. The first being the EA bag.
Yeah.
So but it's a nice poster. We made it home okay. But yeah, I don't know if there's any way you could talk about it. I mean, I'm looking at the table of loot here. We have.
So there is a huge amount of swag that we got.
So much stuff. So I'm not even. Maybe if you want to do a video later on about just swag, we can. But like, it's too. You would take forever talking about it.
So the next game we went and played was The Sims.
Yes, and
the reason we went and played that game.
We actually played The Sims waiting in line to go back to Battlefield, so we did it slightly out of order. Sims 4, the deal with that was if you played, you got the code to the game. So we got somewhere in this pile is a piece of paper with a code.
Yep.
I was never a big fan of what they did with The Sims. Not what they did with it. I'm not a big fan of The Sims, period. It was a cute game. I would probably install it and maybe flip a code online or give it to a friend who wanted it.
I was going to say I'm not a huge fan of it.
But they had, again, talking to the idea of overbooking it, they had 2 computer stations.
That computer stations and 4 mobile stations. So there were 6 stations
for the entire
to play The Sims,
which was ridiculous.
Yes.
So not much to say there. We did play Need for Speed Payback.
But before that, we played FIFA.
We did go online for FIFA. Again, those small amount of stations.
Small amount of stations, but there was really no line when we went.
Right. Yeah. FIFA, NBA, and Madden seem to move pretty well. Because they do those
at the beginning of the day.
Well, yeah, but I mean, as more people come, you're right. The all those went quick though because
everybody was in line for Battlefront.
Well, yeah, but if you've played any of the Madden games, you know they do those like 2-minute quarters where it's like,
yep,
it's very quick. You only get off a couple plays, so it was very consolidated. Even our FIFA match was only like 2 or 3 minutes, like between halves or whatever.
But again, nothing really new.
No, it wasn't. I mean, they're touting a story mode. You didn't get to play the story mode. It was just, here's a multiplayer match. You know, everything was PlayStation 4 Pros. Here's your controller. No sitting down. Get to work. As soon as you're done, just filing people out, which is good because it kept the line moving. But again, just a very short amount of stations. And the only other thing that we did of note here was we got to play Need for Speed Payback, which is fun, very arcadey. That was actually played on a computer, though. That was interesting.
That was played on a computer. I believe they had a total of 20 stations.
Yeah, again, a very small amount for a really hyped up kind of a launch game. There's a picture in here you'll see of us standing in front of the banner. There's this giant banner of like...
They had 2 cars that were pretty cool.
Yep. They had
2 souped up cars.
Yep, and you got to play as a Mustang. And then if you saw the trailer during the E3 press conference, that's exactly what it was. The Mustang driving behind a semi. Then you take over some kind of hot rod car inside the semi and then drive backwards out.
Yep.
So that's all it was. There wasn't anything exclusive, any looks or anything like that.
And it was very much a Need for Speed game. If you've played one,
you know
exactly what it is. It was very arcadey, a lot of cutscenes, which, as someone who's not the greatest race car driver,
right,
I appreciated it.
Well, see,
but
I
could see how if you were actually
good,
you're not racing. You're going from cutscene to cutscene, and
it broke the mood.
It was
for me.
Slightly
way too many cutscenes.
Took it away from being a racing game.
So in the background of all of this was they had there was some rapper there like Outlast or Nas, but before he showed up, it was just overly bassy hip hop rap music.
There were a couple of DJs there
that legit gave me a headache because like you're standing in line and you just hear that noise. It was too much. Even when you were playing at any of the stations, even Star Wars might have been the exception because it was way around the corner. But every other game, I couldn't hear the game audio at all because this radio is so, these speakers, these huge tower speakers were everywhere. And it was even so loud.
Even after we left, I still felt like I was vibrating.
Yeah, it was too much.
It was over the top. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
Getting old.
Getting old, but
No, it was too much.
It was too much
music.
for me.
agree.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to play Titanfall or Battlefield 1 because the lines capped out.
Right.
Probably about an hour and a half before
Right.
it closed.
Which we didn't play Galaxy Heroes. That's the mobile game, but I didn't lose any sleep over that. All in all, I'd have to say that this event was way overbooked. There was so much wasted space for just like the food court, like where you would stand in line to get the food truck, and where there was like a bar where we got some really expensive bottled water. Was no joke, almost a quarter of this entire area.
Now, there was free Monster energy drinks that they were giving out, but
in terms
seeing as how you were outside in the heat, in the sun,
Yeah.
I was really not interested in a Monster energy drink. I'd
Me
rather
either.
just have some straight water.
Me either.
To me, this event had the potential to be good. However, the lack of organization
Yeah.
and the lack of stations to play on,
It killed it because
really-
people just started packing in, and you were in line next to other people who thought they were in line, and maybe they were. Lines merged. It was really poorly run, and it's a cool idea. You know, EA breaking away and doing their own EA-centric thing. They definitely have enough games here and enough content to make it work, but it was too much. So if we ever go back to E3, I would totally skip EA Play, and I would be perfectly fine with it. I don't need to see it again.
Or I certainly wouldn't go day one.
I don't even know. But again, talking to some of the other guys I met at the Fan Fest and at PlayStation event and all that stuff, people were saying they couldn't get in. So you wait in line to get here to do what? I mean, yes, we're not here to play tons of games, but the way it was laid out, how, you know, even like the Star Wars was really packed in one little corner. Then you have these giant unused areas. The Sims was like tucked behind like equipment, like around the corner. It was like an afterthought.
So the point of this is, if you're going to an event and there's a game that you want to play, get in line for it first.
Get in line for that game first, absolutely.
Because you may not have another chance to get in that line because it may cap.
Agree.
And that's what's important. So plan out what you want to do.
Right, yeah. If you only have time for one thing, which you may, that's got to be the thing you want to do. So, all right, so we both agree, thumbs down on EA Play.
Thumbs down on EA Play. Again,
right.
like we said, just too disorganized and not enough stations to play.
Well, you heard it here first and foremost. I don't know how many other people are doing videos like this, but this is our first of many. Stay tuned for more videos throughout the week. We're going to cover all these other crazy events. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Get out there, wait in line for EA Play, and until next time, we'll see you guys on the other side.